Welcome back to Confidence and Coffee, where we get honest about confidence, calling, and everything in between. I'm your host, Ashley Henriott, and today's episode is one that's going to stay with you. I'm sitting down with Nikki Hertzler, foster mom, author, and straight up warrior, to talk about the real, raw, and redemptive side of foster care. If you've ever wondered how to support families who are stepping into the trenches of what it looks like to obey God when it costs something, this is it. So go ahead, grab your coffee, your journal, and honestly, your tissues, because this one's powerful. In this episode, I talk with author of Help, I'm a Foster Parent about the messy, beautiful world of foster care. She shares her story, how God led her into fostering, the challenges that nearly broke her, and the church community that carried her through. We dive deep into parenting kids from hard places, the emotional toll on foster kids, and why obedience to God doesn't always feel like peace, but it leads to purpose. Nikki gives practical encouragement for churches, communities, and everyday people who want to support foster families. This isn't just an episode for foster parents. It's for anyone who wants to show up when it matters most. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Confidence and Coffee. I am truly honored to have my new friend here, Nikki Hertzler. I'm really honored to have her. We get a lot of opportunities on this podcast to have many, many beautiful guests that God is using. But as soon as I saw what Nikki was doing with foster care, I immediately said yes. She wrote a book called Help, I'm a Foster Parent. And this is a prayer devotional for those that maybe you foster, maybe you adopted, and you need that extra encouragement to know you're not alone and the Lord's got you. Nikki, I'm just so honored for what God's called you to do and the strength that you have to be able to do it. I know that you have I read a little bit of your devotional, and there's 34 topics I think you talk about that are you address in regard to fostering. Now, I don't know anything about fostering, so I'm going to stop talking, Nikki, and leave it completely up to you. I'm so honored to have you. So tell us about why we are talking about foster care. What really brought you to that in your own personal journey, and why did you write this devotional?
Good morning. Well, when you said the strength to do it comes through God. We use his strength and his wisdom. And the subtitle of the book is Experiences from Real People, Hope from a Real God. And I might get a little emotional because we do need that support of the church to do it. But it's this foster care is near and dear to my heart, and we've really only been in it about 6 years now, and everyone can't foster, but everyone can do something to help these kids and their foster families and their bio families. And this book came from just a niggling in my mind about we need prayer, we need God, we need help from our church family. And I presented the idea and it just ran like wildfire. I mean, it's written by people. I wrote about a third of the chapters, and the other two-thirds is written by people throughout the country. Some are foster families. Some are, there's a family court judge, how to pray for our family court judges as they're working with foster kids and the families, and do they reunite or do they keep them with the foster family or go to adoption? There's also a topic about the kids aging out of foster care. That is quite a concern. And how do we pray for those? And there's people in ministry throughout this country with specifically for helping those kids learn skills, have cheap rent, and learn how to manage their money, how to get a job. Otherwise, here's some statistics about kids aging out of foster care. And I like to think of these statistics as if they don't have a loving home teaching them about God and changing the trajectory of their lives. Only 3% of foster kids will earn a college degree. 60% of the children, the sex trafficking victims that the FBI pull out of that industry, 60% have come from the foster system. 33% become homeless. 50% develop a substance dependency. 50% are unemployed. by age 24. I mean, the statistics are very sad. But if they can get into a loving home, a church-centered home, and we may talk about this more later, foster parents don't just work with the children. We work with the parents too, the biological family, and try to change their lives too.
That's so good. A little bit more about all the people that wrote this book. Like, tell me the backstory of I mean, like, I want to talk more about foster care and the issues with it for sure. But like, I want to know just the kind of your backstory and the backstory of why a bunch of beautiful people got together to write this devotional.
Well, my backstory, my husband and I were going to become empty nesters. We had raised 3 children of our own. The last one was about to graduate. He was in his senior year. And we have a beautiful house. We live in a lovely area. We feel that we have a lot to give kids, a great church family. And my husband just all of a sudden one day said, I don't want to be empty nesters. We have bedrooms that will be empty. Let's foster. And it
Wow.
just, yes.
Your
Came out of the
husband
blue.
said that.
My husband said that.
Wow.
And way back when I was growing up, I thought I would love to foster and adopt too, but things get in the way. And so, yes, let's do this. Let's do this. So we went through the training, and with the training comes a lot of background checks, and you have to have a fire extinguisher and smoke detectors, of course, carbon and monoxide detectors, and recommendations.
We should with any time.
Right. Right, exactly. And we couldn't start right away because we were taking care of his dad who was aging. But then after his dad passed, we accepted our first placement the next month after that, and it's been a whirlwind since. Right now we're on hiatus, but yeah, comes and goes. Taking a break.
So you like experienced all this. So how did you get connected with all these other people? Tell me about these other people.
That was definitely a God thing. It was
That's what we asked for. We want to know the backstory.
It was like puzzle pieces coming out of the sky at me. I got online on Facebook friends, and I kept messaging my Christian friends, hey, do you know a foster parent who could write a chapter? Do you know? And so many of even my Christian friends did not. I was very shocked. However, a lot of chapters came from foster parents that one of my friends knew somebody who knew somebody. My sister-in-law actually knew several people in Missouri. And she got me connected with several people there. My own church family, my pastor and his wife. See, this came too because we knew some people who had adopted, and then we knew our pastor. Speaking from the pulpit, he and his wife had fostered 3 boys, and then they adopted all 3 boys. After raising their own 3 girls, who were, I think the youngest was in middle school then, but they walk what they talk. And so our pastor and his wife wrote a couple chapters, one about how ask your church family for help, reach out. And we'll talk more about that later because there are ministries around the country who are doing that and helping churches support foster and adoptive ministries. Every time I read this chapter, I just tear up. Another family that I got in contact with somehow was a woman in Canada. She is a pastor in Canada who was a foster child herself in the Canadian system. And she just writes so poignantly about your purpose. Remember your why. Your why is to share Jesus and God with these children. And she writes about how scared they are. Where are they going? They're in the backseat of a police car with a garbage bag full of their clothes, if that even. And when the door is answered, who is going to answer that door? She writes about how one family she went to wouldn't let her eat with them, wouldn't let her play with the kids. And then she writes in a contrast about a Christian family that she got involved with that changed her life. So it's been really cool meeting these people all throughout the country and Canada. We have a ministry here in my town where.
Where are you from, Nikki?
I'm from Northern Nevada, Reno, Nevada.
Or is that where you're presently at right now?
Oh, that's where I'm at. Yes. I am from Missouri. So okay. One of my sister-in-laws there.
I saw the mountains in your picture.
Oh, yes.
Website. Very pretty.
It is very, very inspiring. This one family where it was a successful engineer. They had 3 kids. They adopted. And then they got a nudge from God to start a ministry downtown. They bought an apartment complex and are living there in one of the apartments. And some of the other apartments, they take in kids who have aged out of foster care and they let them have rent for really cheap. They're there to mentor them. They're there to help them learn survival school skills, how to do your laundry, how to do your checkbook. So, and this is happening all throughout the country. I read a statistic, which I have not been able to confirm or, verify, but the statistic I read said 64% of foster parents who are not related to the kids are churched families. And by churched, I did not find a definition of that. But if anyone can let me know where that came from and more information on that, I would love to hear from them. But yeah, so I mean, it's this love and care comes from Christ, and we want to spread it.
So tell me, like, I mean, wow, the backstories on this.
Mm-hmm.
So in regard of like foster care, and you talk about I love that you brought that up, that statistic in like church families. Now, I was not officially in foster care, but if you know my story, it's in my book, Confidence is an Inside Job. Like, I actually was on my own since I was 15. I had been groomed, I had been kidnapped. Like, there's just a lot there. And I got pregnant at the age of 19, moved to North Carolina, and long story short, found this church, got saved, and I met these beautiful people who I really just went to, help me get my GED and help me get on my feet and help me get an apartment, because no one taught me anything. No one taught me the girl stuff. Like, my mom was a drug addict. And my stepfather was very abusive. And so I basically had to get my own birth certificate, my own social security card. I tried to go to school twice by myself, and then finally got my GED where I moved with my little baby. And I was 20 at the time. Anyways, these people, Kathy and Glenn Hayes, they took me in. They felt like God would ask them to take me in because we couldn't find anywhere for me to live. Like, everything was closed, or there was like years of waiting list. And I wanted to go back to school, and it was rocky. Like, there were times where it was really rocky for us, that dynamic, because I moved in and I was scared. Like, I had, my securities were always false and abusive. And this was a brand new security for me. Like, what am I doing? But I wanted God more than I wanted false security. And so I was willing to do what he wanted me to do. And looking back, because that was 15 years ago, I am so grateful that God brings people in our life that love him, because they restored a lot inside of me that had been taken from me. Now, it was ugly and we fought, and there were times that it was hard because, like, I'm pushing people away. Like, I can see that now. Like, and I don't trust people, and I have a hard time opening up, but I want it. But it's like I compared myself as like one of those dogs at the dog pound that bite, and everybody thinks they should, like, they're dangerous and they should put them to sleep. But there's that one person that looks through and says, that's fear. That's fear. That's not a dog who's just aggressive. And we need to give that dog a chance. And in doing that, you're taking on an animal that is nothing but abuse, nothing but abandonment. But you take time, you earn its trust, you show it it's safe. And eventually he calms down, right? And he becomes like the best, most obedient dog ever. And I'm not comparing children to dogs, but like, it just, resonates with me very, very much so, because there have been people in my life, I wasn't fostered, but I was fostered in a sense that being on your own and like not having ride to school, not having clothes, not having food. Like, there were so many people, even in my neighborhood before that, as a little girl, that I'll never forget, that God brought in my life, that maybe gave me a cookie or a ride to school. The church people that like showed me love when I knew nothing about love. Like, I would just go to church to like go eat. Like, I'm from Alabama. Like, once a month we all get together and we eat fried chicken, okay? And so like, I went to go eat, but what I discovered was these beautiful people that, honestly, if I didn't meet these people, if I wasn't exampled this kind of love, I don't think I would be here today, because that made me hunger for that kind of love for the rest of my life, to where, I became believing I deserved that kind of love. And this is what it's like. And so, with that being said, like, I'm just curious, like, what in regard, like, these families, like, what would you say, what are the positives of foster care? What is the connection with the church in that? And then, like, if you want to speak on the negatives, because we don't write books and we don't do these things if God's like, hey, there's an issue and we have a mission and we need to share it. So I would love to know your perspective on that.
The positives are great and the negatives are great, but God is involved and he will work. The positives have been so amazing. I mean, you get to know before you're looking in, you're just looking into foster care and adopting, you're thinking, oh, those parents, oh, how do they do that to their kids? But one of the benefits has been getting to know the parents, the real people that
Really?
they're hurting, they're lost, they're confused, they don't know how to parent, they don't know how to act, and they need help too, just as much. So that has been quite rewarding. I mean, just this past few months ago, we got a text from our first little girl. We had her when she was 8 to 9, almost 10. And we got a text from her family. She's having her quinceañera. Can you come? She went, yeah, we would love for you to come. And so we went, and it was so cool seeing how the family has rallied around her family, and they're doing okay. So that has been a great reward. Another mom we had her baby from when he came from the hospital until about 10 months old, and she had changed. She was a different person because the year before she had found Jesus. And all the people around her, previous caseworkers, previous lawyers, they said, you're different. What's different about you? And it has been so cool developing a relationship. And I can call her my friend, actually. She's a sister in Christ, and she has two of her kids back, and she's on a different path now. So that has been a wonderful reward. Seeing how God is working through me, through other people, just so cool. Other rewards, just knowing that you're in God's will. You're doing what He wants you to do. Every time we take a break from foster care, the pastor from the pulpit says some kind of phrase like, "Get out of your comfort zone and do something for God." And like, this is what we're doing. All right, this is how we're ministering. This is how we're being your hands and feet, God. So just knowing that you're in His will.
What does God say about foster care? Like, do you want to touch on that?
James 1 says, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress. So He wants us to take care of these little ones. And I do have to say too, and this would be a whole different ministry and a whole different topic, but prevention too, teaching parents parenting skills before their kids get to the point of needing foster care would be another way to take care of these kids too.
Yeah, no, when I had a baby, I had no idea what I was doing.
Right?
I'm so grateful that God made my baby easy, but it's so funny because I went back to school and I got my degree in early childhood education, and then worked throughout the public schools and, Christian preschools. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to know what it looked like to be a parent. I was a single mom, so it was on my own kid's schedule, which worked out. And then also, I wanted to see, like, what do you feed your kids? How do you speak to your kids? Like, how do you meet them developmentally? I went to school to learn how to truly, like, break curses and, like, learn my children and where they're at, and be able to meet them there so I could parent them well. And I did a lot of bad things. I made a lot of mistakes, and I still do. And, my first baby, he's 15 now, and we have, like, the best relationship. I have the best kids ever. But I think, prevention is so, so important. But, like, if we got really practical, Nikki, because we keep it so real over here, like, yes, God is so good and He's in control, and foster care is important. I think we need to be, like, very, like, highlight that a lot. But, like, in regard of, like, being real and practicality, yes, all those things are great, but what's the problem? Why is the church not, I mean, like, also to statistically, the church is not involved as much as they should be. If the church truly got involved, I don't think there would be a lot of foster kids, like, in that regard, that need help, and the system wouldn't be so overwhelmed. Like, when I looked into foster care, I, like, spoke to police officers, like, I did some interviews, like, I spoke to the social services, and, like, people bash on social services, which it needs to be trained. Like, they need better training because those kids just aren't put in foster. There's a reason, right? But also, like, we need to come alongside social services. Like, the church needs to work within the system, not against the system.
to be able to help these children and to educate these parents and create safety for everyone around. Like, even if the parent is unequipped and was like, I didn't want to have this baby, let's be real, we need to step in and tell them that's okay to get help or to, put your baby in foster care. Because sometimes if we did this the right way, I believe that we could make this a safe position, and understand I'm coming from what I understand about foster care. We could make this safe for everyone to where we're not waiting for children like also just to die or be, abused. Like I was abused. Like I feel like we need to create, like you said, there's prevention, and also we need to create safety for these parents to even come to get this kind of training, to understand that there is prevention. Like, hey, we're here with open arms to help you raise your babies without shame and without guilt, right? Because what we as moms are so hard on ourselves. Like mom guilt is so real. And so in that regard, yeah, like I want to talk about, like this devotional. Tell me who's it for? Like if you had to think about, I'm thinking of my listeners right now and what they need to hear and like what they want. And I'm curious, Nikki, what you think, like in regard of when you look at this devotional, who do you imagine reading it and why?
I would love for it to be in the hands of every Christian foster parent. It's wonderful prayers on specific topics. You wouldn't be going through them all. Like I didn't go through fostering kids who had a parent in jail, but maybe you do. So here's a prayer that can help you.
Wow.
To pray. If you have foster parent friends and family members, this would be a great one to get for them and for you, and know some ways to pray for them, because it's from people right there in the trenches.
It's so good. Listen, y'all need to get this devotional. I love that, like, people are in the trenches are fostering and they're saying yes to God, and we're being honest that it is not easy. It is not easy to foster children.
Yeah. The hardest thing we've ever done.
The best, it is, yeah. And I want you to talk about that. And I want you to talk about the connection actually with the prayers that you're doing, because prayer is the best thing that you can do in these situations. But like, what do you pray about when you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing? So what am I praying about? Right? Like, so it's like just to feel like you're not only alone with the Lord, but you also have other people behind you supporting you that have been through the same thing. So like in regard of your experience, Nikki, like let's connect in what you and your husband went through. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because you went through the hard stuff. Do you want to talk about that and what helped you?
We thought we were great parents, and maybe we were. We, like you said, we make so many mistakes in parenting. But parenting these kids coming from trauma is so different and so hard. And a lot of times you don't even know what they've come from. You haven't been told, especially with little ones who can't even talk. But sometimes it pops out of the mouth of the older ones. But a lot of times you don't know what they've been through. There are some resources, some books on how to parent differently for these kids. And one of the things that it is that connection. Don't send them to timeout, send them to time in, bring them closer to you, because they haven't had that connection. They haven't had that love. They may have just been hit. And so they need that tender, loving momminess or daddiness. Some of the hard things are, they just scream for no reason. And you just have to say, God, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And, you've heard of the trauma brain where the kids, they don't know how to act because there's these walls up in their head that amygdala shuts down. Well, as parents of foster kids and adoptive kids too, we get that too. I experience that. Like, I know how to have bedtime for kids. But then going through this with a couple of kids we had, it's like my amygdala just shut me down. I couldn't think. I needed help. Like, hey, did you try this and this? Like, oh yes, I know about that and that. I should have done that. But at the time, you're in the moment and everything's just coming at you. And you just say, help God, what can I do? And so other people, other parents coming around and suggesting things, other therapists, Christian therapists, and you just need the support around you. Some of the hard things, COVID. Oh my goodness. We had 3 little kids during COVID when that hit. And that I don't have high blood pressure, but at the time I did. And our life group was support because you couldn't even get out to the park. They closed the parks. What are you doing with kids? And so we would go on lots of walks. My life group came around. They brought meals. You couldn't go shopping without what masks and I don't know. There were so many things. And so a couple of my life church, the men, they said, what kind of shoes do the kids need? We're going to go buy them for you. And I don't know, but many people know shoes and kids, they've got a special love for shoes. And so that was such a cool thing that they did. And yeah, just being there for little things like that. And that brings the point that when you are surrounded by your church family, by your life group, by your support friends who love Jesus and who are supporting you because they love Jesus, these kids see Jesus working through all of those people too, not just through you, but through them, through the whole church. Our first little girl who is 8 and 9, we had morning church, and then at the time we had a fourth service too. It was the same service, the same Sunday school, but we went in the morning and she wanted to go back at night, so we did. She loved being there, and all these people loving on her and being patient and gracious with her. It changes things.
Wow. Well, Nikki, if you had to tell anybody, any of our listeners, one thing, what would it be? I know it's like, that's a really hard question.
Well, even if you are not in a place where you think you can foster, go ahead and get involved in somehow supporting the foster and adoptive families around you.
Good. That's good.
I also want to say another scripture too, Proverbs 14:4. Where there are no oxen, the stable is clean, but much harvest comes with the oxen. I paraphrase that a bit, but like, yeah, our lives can be all nice and comfy, convenient. House could be clean, your life is clean, but where's the harvest? Where's the harvest coming from? It's coming from those messes. Messes God puts in your life and nudges you to do.
Keep going, Nikki. You're preaching. I feel the presence of the Lord. That's really good.
Yes. I mean, it's a strange agrarian proverb, but it really is my favorite right now because we're in the midst of messes. And yeah, we don't have to have a clean, comfy, convenient life. We want to meet all these kids in heaven someday.
Wow. Nikki, your heart, I'm so honored. Your heart is so pure in what you're doing, and you truly do care about this work. And I'm so grateful for you. I mean, what would you tell the people that are fostering?
Oh, cling to God and reach out for help. Reach out for prayer from others. There are so many ministries too in town, in the country that have been stepping up, church ministries stepping up for this. And I do want to talk about the example that we have here in Northern Nevada, in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, San Diego. It's been spreading the last 2 years. It's been great. So, and I'm going to mention names too. We have the ministry here is called Foster the City. There's another ministry back east called Backyard Orphans, and they may be spreading this way too. I haven't checked in with them lately. One of the pastors in Backyard Orphans wrote a couple chapters in the book too, so you can check in that way. But Foster the City started here with Kate Smith at a church. She has adopted many. She has fostered so many. She speaks all over. She's such a strong, godly woman. She's my mentor. And this ministry she started was a similar one to one that Pastor Philip in the San Francisco Bay Area started there too. So they combined forces a couple years ago. And what it is raising up churches to help support the foster families so they can keep fostering. The statistic is that it used to be 50%, and the last time I heard it's 60% of families who foster drop out after the first placement because it is so hard. And I just heard this week. Foster the City families who have support friends around them who are involved in this, that drops down to only 10% dropping out after the first placement. So it's working. So what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. We work on raising up foster families and adopted families in the church body. And then we want to surround them with support so they can feel supported emotionally, spiritually, and physically. So the ideal is to have 4 support friends around them, touching base with them twice a month. That's a commitment. We ask for a commitment for a year or that placement. Almost anybody could do that. Not everybody, but so many people could do that. Touching base, connecting with a family twice a year, emotionally, spiritually, like a text message. I'm praying for you. You're doing great. Keep going. And one's something physical, something tangible. And of course, our minds jump to bringing a meal, babysitting, but there's so much more than that you can do. Definitely meals help. I remember when we've got our first placement, a 15-year-old and then her 8-year-old sister, and we were all just shell shocked. The baby and I got sick that first week. And I said, oh no, we don't need meals. It's okay. We know what we're doing. We're great. No, we needed help. I was so glad to have those meals that people started bringing. I mean, you're figuring out a new schedule in your life. A 15-month-old has a whole different schedule than the elementary student. And it's just getting kids to school, getting kids to bedtime. So I was so happy for those meals. But it's also things like, and you're supporting the parents. If they're okay with you working with the kids, that's great. Do that. Things like, how little girls have their nails painted. Maybe come over and paint the girls' nails while mama cooks dinner. Maybe it's putting together that new bicycle because they've aged up from their old one. Maybe it's those pesky stroller tire tubes that keep popping and you're sick of changing them. Maybe one of your support friends comes over and changes that for you. Something so simple. The car seat situation. I don't know about you, but I hate putting in and out car seats.
I do too. I'm ready to be done.
Yes.
I have them 15 to 5 and I'm like, let's get going.
Yes. That's such a time of celebration when they graduate out of those. But if someone could have just come over and put that car seat in for me, I would have been so grateful. Things like that. Of changing the crib to the toddler bed, coming over and doing yard work because you're dealing with trauma-based kids. Just little things. And then that is showing so much godly love to these kids. They remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and it changes their lives. The foster families supports them so they can do more. So
Would you say that the hard was worth it?
the hard is definitely worth it.
Yeah.
The hard is worth it. Yeah. And some of the hard is, you probably haven't succeeded in changing the lives of this family, but you've been obedient to God. That's what He's called you to do, to be obedient. And He will take care of the rest.
What would you say to validate those that are listening, whether they're thinking about fostering, is like the hardest thing with doing this? Like, honestly, like when it comes, like we talk about dealing with trauma children, but what is the most common thing that you see from your experience that is hard, and what did you do about it?
Oh my. Well, I don't know if I was successful dealing with them acting out. I've never been called bad names before. Just being gracious on that. Knowing that it's a pride thing too. Like we were good parents. Well, maybe, but you know what? There's things that you didn't do so well, and you're not doing so well right now, and being knocked off your high horse because you're not doing so well with it. But you're still there. You're still being consistent, and you're not going to abandon them. Although that's another subject too, because sometimes you do have to say we have to find another placement for these kids. We had one that we had a baby also at the time, and it wasn't, the older kids were not safe around the baby. The baby was not safe around them, and so we had to say, please come and get these older kids too, because we want to keep the baby safe. So that's hard, but you just keep at it.
What do you say to those that are struggling with like needing to replace?
To do what? Pardon?
To replace the children. What do you say to those that are struggling, that are wrestling with that?
Pray that they will have another family that can spend more time or has some more experience. Maybe it's just a lot of prayer. I don't know. I really don't know. That's part of the hard, is not knowing.
But how did you come to grips with the replacement?
With that, we had godly counsel because, our life group knew what was happening. They saw it happen in front of them. So godly counsel and knowing we were doing what was best for our family. And knowing
It's really hard to do that. It's got to really mess with you a little bit.
Oh, yes. You feel like a failure. And that happens a lot. But that happens with regular parenting too. And you just...
Yeah, but like, it's still like, and I say this with such grace, like, we do feel like a failure with our regular kids, but we don't get to replace them. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so like, how do you come to terms with knowing that that's what's best for the child and for you to replace. Because like when it comes to parenting, if we're comparing it to like our own children, you know, replacement isn't an option. Abandonment, giving up on these kids isn't an option. Abuse isn't an option. And so we have to look, like for me as a parent, my kids taught me more than anything in the world about myself.
Yes.
And it challenged me to truly look at myself and like, where can I meet them? How can I communicate with them? How can I love them in this moment? And then also giving myself permission to walk away. Like, I gotta go because I'm gonna hurt you. Okay. I gotta get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And apologizing, a lot of apologizing to my children. Because kids with trauma, I was a trauma kid. We sabotage. We are going to push you to your limits because we want to see if you'll stay.
Right.
I was that kid. I want to know, even in relationships, all that stuff goes with you in relationships as you get older. It sucks that that was put on a child. That sucks so terribly that their little brains, because trauma had like, it messes with your chemicals in your brain. There is a physical response to trauma. And when you cause a child to sin, I mean, the Bible says it's better to have a millstone tied to your neck, tied to you, and be thrown in the river than to cause one of these children to sin. It is so vital to the Lord. He doesn't say that in any other sense, like any other aspect except for that.
It is serious.
And I'm like all about advocating for children because I was an educator and I studied kids and their levels of comprehension, and the expectations and the standards that adults put on kids infuriates me. And then in like with children, like with trauma, God as an educator, listen to me. I started teaching with children with disabilities, okay? And like children with like trauma. And it was hard. I got punched in the face. I would get kicked, and I would get tired. I would get mad. I would get angry. And no one else knew what to do with these kids. So a lot of that was like, I didn't have the support. They just like threw me to the wolves, right? And I had to figure it out on my own. But also like at the end of the day, I still chose to love them. Like I still was like, and I'm an educator. I didn't foster. So I don't come from the foster aspect, but these kids also went to school. These foster babies went to school. And as an educator, we saw it there too, right? And so like I was just like exhausted. I didn't like them sometimes, most of the time, but like there was something inside of me as a Christian, like that I think only God can give you, that still loved them. Like that God agape love that was like, I'm not giving up on you, even though I just want to like shake you and I'm ready for the end of the year. I'm ready for you not to be in my class. But like, I still love them and I have a relationship with some of my students in high school. And so it was ugly. Like there were a lot of times it was ugly. And then you know what I did, Nikki? I went to teach in kindergarten thinking I'm going to have baby number 3. I'm going to easy. Like I got to get out of this. Like I did my season. I did my work, Lord. Let's go to something fun. So no, God's like, absolutely not. Like he gave me 3 children, one in which when I moved to the neighborhood was at this house that she wasn't supposed to be at. She had another sister on the street, butt naked. Father passed out high in the house. These kids had mattresses in the front yard. Like, and this was a nice neighborhood. They got kicked out. Like they weren't even like they sent the grandfather to an elderly home and took his house. Like it was like it was terrible, 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 terrible. Eventually the kids got taken away. There was 2 sets of families and they would come over and drink water out of a bag and like want food. And like, it was really sad. And so like, I know that at the time, like we had to go over there because the bus, you can't get your kids off the bus if a parent's not out there. And like, we would have to go over there and bang on the door for the bus driver to come and get these kids off the bus. They're kids. And their teeth were rotting out, which understand I grew up in those environments. Like that was my childhood. And so I was thinking I was going to kindergarten to teach like fun and crafts and no, the Lord gave me the 3 most traumatized children, one in which cockroaches were coming out of his book bag. And he was the sweetest little boy, but he was nonverbal, but sweetest little baby. And he couldn't even, it was just really sad. And then there was another one who like was that little girl on my street. God put her in my class and I saw myself in her. I saw how sweet these babies were and how good they wanted to be. And understand they're not 15. That's like, I have a 15-year-old. To foster a traumatized 15-year-old, God bless your soul. Seriously.
I haven't done that either. No, that's scary to me.
Like, God bless those people. So I don't know if I could do that. Like, I'm going to be so honest with myself. Like, I get it. God gives us strength, but God, please, I'm not testing that right now. Like, let me tell him, like, I don't want you to test me on that. But just like, and then there was another one that was very aggressive, like to the point we had to like lock down classrooms, like throwing chairs, destroying the classroom, a runaway, the runaways, the hardest children God gave me in each school I worked in. And I'm telling you, I could not love them in my own strength.
Right. Right.
I could not. Like, I genuinely don't even know how they loved me. And I was just like, I love you too. Like, like that's the reality. And I think the point I'm making, Nikki, is that you're so honest. Like, you had to think about your family, you had to think about the child, and you knew that your heart was in the right place. Like, your heart belonged to God. Like that, there's no question about that. Or you would not be in this field. Like, you would not be doing what you're doing. And I so much honor that. And you had to think about the baby. Like, you had to make really hard decisions, Nikki. And like, that takes strength like no other. You made a sacrifice in a way that the world would not understand or accept, but you knew it was best, because even in the Bible, there are so many people think about it. Even when Paul, like Saul became Paul and he became an apostle, he got into just a little bits of agreements with some of the disciples. And he's like, look, you got to go. Was it Thomas? Like, you got to go your own way. We are not getting along. I love you, but like, this isn't working. And sometimes we have to like make those hard decisions. And I think that people have this basis, and I would love for you to talk on that. We're running out of time. So like, maybe like super quick, like about the wrestle and that aspect of like, I think that people like, because they believe we're Christian and because they believe we love Jesus, like it very much is very like, okay, well, obviously like they kind of like put that on us, like we're not human, like we're somehow not human.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people that are struggling with that right now? Like, that haven't come to terms with like, hey, it's okay to be a person and it's okay to be misunderstood. You know what's best for everyone in that really difficult situation that most people don't. I don't know what you went through, Nikki. I literally don't know what that's like. And I know that when I do start fostering, I'm calling you. So be prepared.
Well,
okay.
And there's a lot of books out there too. Jamie, I think her name is Finn. She wrote a prayer devotional too lately. I think she does a better job of not giving up on the kids. But you don't take what they do personally. You realize that our nature is sinful, and you realize that God has created us to desire Him, and He's going to put other opportunities in the lives of those kids. Hopefully,
and he'll give you the season. Like you'll know the season of sacrifice, right? Like he'll let you know like it's time, because he's got to give you that supernatural strength.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah. He gives you the supernatural strength, and he will provide, and he'll provide hey, it's time to stop also. Yeah. Well, you dived into all my deepest, darkest
it's
failures.
the coach in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the coach in me. It's the, I don't know if you looked me up for the podcast, but I'm very transparent and vulnerable. And I just feel like we have to talk about those deep, dark struggles, because there's so many who have them, and not because of shame, but just be like, hey, it's okay. It's actually not that bad. Like, it's a struggle, but that struggle is normal, and God is not surprised by that. Right. And so like, I did not like want to bring out things in you. Like, I'm learning from you. Like, I'm relating with you. Like, I'm intrigued by you and what you do, because I've never done that. Like, sometimes, if I'm being so honest with my own children, I'm like, I love you a lot. And I know you're this age, and I know that it's not personal and you're going through your own stuff. But like, I'm really glad that you're going to your dad's this week. Like, just, I want to miss you. Okay. I don't want to dislike you. But Nikki, listen, like, you guys, I'm getting this devotional. Like, I know it takes prayer, and that's what Nikki's teaching us. And I know that she's nervous. So you guys, like, you have to leave ratings and reviews specifically for Nikki, and just say how wonderful she was on the podcast, and the work that she's doing. So if you listen to this all the way through, encourage her in the comments, encourage her, like, subscribe to the channel, and encourage her in the reviews on wherever you listen to podcasts. And also go follow Nikki and connect with her. She wants you to connect with her, and get that devotional. Nikki, where can we connect with you? Where can we get this devotional? Where can we know all the things?
Well, the devotional is on Amazon.com, of course, and I have a website, NikkiHertzler.com for
I saw
ease.
it's beautiful. It's
Yep,
beautiful.
easy there. And Facebook, Facebook Nikki Hertzler, author. And Nikki is with 2 Ks and 2 Is and 2 dots. So Nikki Hertzler, like Hertz rental car. And really part of the encouragement is hearing stories like yours. Like God worked in your life through the trauma, around it, through so many people, and God is great, and it's awesome. Awesome
Well,
to hear stories like
I
that.
have to tell you that I'm thankful for people like you, because I'm telling you, Nikki, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Everyone can do something. Yes. Following God and being his arms and legs. He can do it without us, but he wants us to participate and be obedient. And yeah, so find a ministry near you. Boston City, Backyard Orphans. I'm sure there are other ones. And I do write about some of those on my blog on NikkiHertzler.com. So thank you so much for this opportunity
Thank you,
to
Nikki.
share.
The devotional is called Help, I'm a Foster Parent.
Yes.
And it's really pretty. So Amazon, go get it. I will drop everything in the show notes. I love you guys. Thanks for joining us, Nikki. It's been an honor to have you in the community of Confidence and Coffee. Now you're family. You're at the table. You're
Yes.
always welcome here. And so thank you again. And thank you for our listeners and everyone that tuned in and truly opened their hearts to something that God called us all to do, to take care of the orphan.
Thank you so much. It's been great to be here.
Oh man, wasn't that good? If this episode stirred something in you, don't ignore it. Maybe you're not called to foster, but you're called to support someone who does. Share this with a friend, your pastor, or your small group. And if you're in the thick of it, parenting, fostering, fighting to be obedient, I see you and God sees you. Leave a review if this encouraged you. And don't forget to connect with me on Instagram or TikTok at Ashley Henriott so we can keep this conversation going. You're not alone, and you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. I will see you right here next Tuesday on Confidence and Coffee. Thanks for joining in.